we're fighting. It's Bumfight.
Stop the tape. Stop the tape. I don't want to talk to you.
Why not?
That's despicable.
Who do you think you are, huh?
And that is absolutely despicable, and I refuse to publicize that.
This is one of the earliest viral videos in YouTube history, when a man named Ty Beeson went on the Dr. Phil show and trolled him by shaving his head and growing a mustache to look like the host before getting kicked off the program. Ty was there because he created the extremely successful DVD series Bumfights, known in the early 2000s for exploiting the homeless by filming them doing crazy stunts for small amounts of money, all while the owners made millions off the endeavor. The thing that almost no one realized about this Dr. Phil clip is that 1, that's not actually Ty Beeson, but a person paid to pose as him on the show. 2, Ty doesn't even exist, with it being a fake name. And 3, this nameless individual didn't even make Bumfights, but rather bought the rights to the footage and only pretended to be the creator to drum up more controversy. So what on earth is the true story behind this early internet shock video phenomenon? Well, after dozens of hours of research, I'll try my best to explain the true story today. But before we get into today's video, I have a quick favor to ask. My company, Out Loud Talent, was nominated for this year's Creator Agency Awards, and I'd really appreciate it if you were able to vote for me. I don't talk about this side of my work often, but I'm a co-owner of Out Loud Talent. I got into talent representation about 6 years ago after dealing with too many shady companies promising brand deals and opportunities they never delivered on. I knew creators deserved better, transparent practices, fair treatment, and people who actually understood what it's like to be on this side of the camera. That's why being nominated for the Breakthrough Creator Agency category feels especially meaningful to me. If you're open to it, you can support us by clicking the link below, heading to the Breakthrough Creator category, and voting for Out Loud Talent. Our story begins in the late 90s with the popularity of skateboard videos. This was an era when digital cameras, computer editing, and DVDs became widely available, leading to low-budget filmmaking for subcultures becoming economically viable. These extreme sport videos in particular showed off impressive tricks, with stunts and pranks sprinkled in between. The genre took off in 1999 with the success of Bam Margera's CKY, which evolved into the hit franchise Jackass. It wasn't long until stunts became the focus, showing the public's fascination with dangerous and outrageous feats. But as this appetite grew, it could only be satiated with escalating intensity. That takes us to the San Diego suburb of La Mesa. Ryan McPherson was a young skater who typically filmed his peers. That changed when the 16-year-old learned about 2 homeless men that lived nearby. Donnie Brennan and Rufus Hanna were local legends. The pair of middle-aged vets had many friends, and police let them be. That's partially because they coaxed each other into performing entertaining stunts. Donnie recounted one such instance in Rolling Stone magazine. Rufus once dared him to jump off a hill near the entrance of La Mesita Park and land on the concrete below. Donnie accepted, but concedes he was not able to leap very far before he began rolling down the hillside, encountering rocks along the way. There were all kinds of people and kids in the park. We thought it was funny. Ryan heard about the duo from friends, ecstatic about a homeless guy running his head into trees. With dreams of a breakout hit, the high schooler met them behind a supermarket. Then he offered Rufus $5 to run headfirst into a stack of milk carton crates. He told me he was doing a video for his economics class on what it was like when you don't have a job. I never had any idea the stuff he was filming would become what it did. They hit it off, and Ryan began filming the homeless men over the next 3 years. Rufus quickly became the star, earning himself the nickname the Stunt Bum. It must be understood this was far from an original venture. Similar tapes were being made by a teen named Daniel Tanner in Las Vegas. He interspersed skate videos with homeless people in high school brawls. They both spread fast locally, landing in front of Zach Bobek. The 22-year-old connected them together, as well as his friend Mikey Slyman. The 4 founded a production company called In Decline Films. They cut their footage together to create the first volume of Bumfights. The film is, predictably, fights in public places and amateur stunts without protection. It's fueled by offers of liquor and cash, as well as necessities like food, clothing, and motel rooms. One man pulls out his teeth with pliers. Another sets his hair on fire. The rewards can be as petty as a single donut. The altercations vary from one-on-one to groups versus groups. They're often equipped with knives, blunt objects, or drugs. Many end up with broken bones, including Rufus, who breaks his ankle during a fight. The stunt bum famously got several Bumfight tattoos, which are central to the film's marketing. During intermissions, model Angela Taylor strips with a t-shirt of the logo. It's a stark contrast to their segment, Krako's Gone Wild, which is exactly what you think it is. Alongside Rufus, another star is Bling Bling the Crackhead. He openly discussed the drug and gave bizarre rambles about the universe.
See, there's a reason, especially going through the vortex through different solar systems and constellations. There's a reason why they use A through Z, 0 through 9 and 0 in the solar system. It's very powerful. A lot of people don't understand that. I am a chosen being that will make it off the universe, this planet, and an extraterrestrial crowd. Hey, girl, can you say bling bling?
If all this abject cruelty wasn't enough, I haven't even talked about Steve Urban, the bum hunter.
And welcome to another exciting edition of Bum Hunter.
Styled after the iconic Australian TV personality The Crocodile Hunter, a man named Todd Lewis kidnaps homeless people in his van. In one clip, he approaches a man sleeping in the street before binding his hands with duct tape. A message before the segment assures viewers, very few bums were hurt in the making of this film. All were returned back into their natural habitat. Ryan later claimed these segments were pre-arranged sketches, but that contradicts an interview from 2004.
Was it staged though?
No. The people were walked up upon while they were sleeping and then compensated afterwards, and that was the parody.
Bumfights Cause for Concern, released in April of 2002, available to order online for the low price of $19. By June, it had sold over 250,000 copies, turning its producers into millionaires. That was in no small part thanks to a shout-out from Howard Stern. It generated so much traffic, their entire website crashed at one point. The morally bankrupt venture proved to be a cash cow, with there being so much outrage it reached local television.
Look at all the footage we had, and figured that if Backyard Wrestling could put out a tape with some fake stuff, and we had the real thing, real fights, that we could throw out a better tape.
This went nationwide once it was picked up by Fox News. Las Vegas police began looking for victims from the videos, and homeless advocacy groups spoke out against the cultural phenomenon. To counter this, Bumfights issued a statement. Society has a fascination with homeless people living on the streets. Almost a perverse fascination. People don't get a chance to see much of that. We thought it would be exciting to get a glimpse of that kind of life. Fights are part of homeless culture. It's a way for them to vent their anger. We're simply there to video it. That did little but agitate those horrified by its content. The World Homeless Union responded, "There are all kinds of predators on this earth. The most vile are those who prey on the most desperate and defenseless people among us." The filmmakers want the world to believe there is such a thing as homeless culture, and that this non-existent culture is a culture of violence. Strangely, this statement addresses two men named Ray Letitia and Ty Beeson. As it turns out, shortly after the film's release, Indecline sold the rights to Bumfights for $1.5 million. It was purchased by two Las Vegas producers who began promoting the film. The original creators had no control over how it was marketed.
They could only watch as Bumfights earned their former business partner an even bigger fortune.
If that wasn't strange enough, the names Ray Letitia and Ty Beeson were fake. When asked, the creators were unable to reveal the buyer's true name due to an NDA. Beeson and Letitia toured the media, stating they came up with the film. They made up a story about being preschool pals who financed the film by maxing out their credit cards. Their aim was to raise $100,000 off Bumfights to fund a legitimate independent film career. These two made comments on homeless culture and called it drunk bums beating each other silly. At one point, Letitia said none of the participants were offered cash. This changed to, they were gifts because they're our friends. To this day, many believe the founding members were behind the media frenzy, when it was actually two unidentified producers stoking the flames. It reached the point that Congressman Earl Blumenauer disavowed it on the House floor. These sad, pathetic images are described as hilariously shocking. I call it criminal. In the end, the tape's virality only spelled legal troubles for the 4 young men who were involved in filming it. That September, Ryan was accused of a felony conspiracy to solicit an assault with deadly force, as well as the obstruction of justice. He allegedly offered $25,000 to 2 homeless men if they refused to cooperate with police. After this, the other creators faced charges as well. They were next accused of battery and promoting a prize fight. They pled not guilty and were freed on bond. In January of 2003, it was ruled that there wasn't enough to convict them of felonies. Victims had trouble remembering what was said at crucial times or whether they acted voluntarily or for money. This led their charges to be lessened to misdemeanors. They pled guilty that May, being sentenced to $500 in fines, probation, and volunteer work at a homeless shelter. 2 years later, Ryan and Zach spent 3 months in jail after failing to complete their community service. That still didn't signal the end of their legal woes, though. In October of 2002, Donnie and Rufus filed a lawsuit against the filmmakers. As their lawyer would say, the men are seeking unspecified punitive damages for assault and battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, civil rights violations, and other allegations. This was followed by a different suit from a man named Peter Laforte. Laforte said the 4 filmmakers paid a 275-pound woman to fight him, and he tried to decline before she attacked him in a beach restroom. They accused the foursome of plying them with drugs and alcohol. The case was settled in 2006, with the victims paid $300,000 in total. The original creators would also forfeit their right to produce any more Bumfight videos or distribute the ones already made. And this is where things get strange, as throughout the proceedings, new films were still being released. The first sequel to Bumfights came out in 2003. These follow-ups largely use archival footage from the initial filming period. The creators' legal troubles were exploited to market the films. This is the video the US Congress tried to ban. There are reports that Volume 2 was funded with the help from Jim Buck Jr., a venture capitalist and then owner of the Phillies. Appearing at the press conference with the producers of Bumfights, Jim Buck Jr. was jubilant while wearing a Rufus the Stunt Bum t-shirt. The brand expanded to include other Mondo films like Terrorists, Killers, and Middle East Wackos. It advertised executions, firing squads, knife fights, and terror attacks. After this, the homeless are barely present in their films. Bumfights Volume 3 came out in 2004. The description reads, "The crew were arrested on 7 felony charges. Finally, thanks to some good lawyers, here is the footage that was seized from the arrests." The DVD begins with Rufus reading a newspaper article about the first film. It's followed by a compilation of news reports about their legal troubles.
Why in the world would anybody buy this thing?
One clip that went viral from this tape was Crackhead Gangsta, in which a homeless man randomly attacks a woman's car. It garnered over 1 million views on a new website called YouTube, getting a fair amount of remixes. The next video was Bling Along, starring fan favorite Bling Bling. Not to be confused with the Johnny Test character. He was reportedly very easy to get a hold of. This wasn't the only spin-off, with multiple Bum Hunter DVDs. The last installment of Bumfights came out in 2006, after 2 years of non-stop filming around the globe. It started with a message claiming people missed the point of their videos. The people fighting in this video are not cool. They are idiots. The stunts in this video are idiotic and performed by assholes. They are fucking retards. We show these images not to glorify them, but to laugh at them. Laugh at them. While this coincides with the settlement, it's unclear if Letitia and Beeson were forced to stop. There aren't many answers when it comes to this story, epitomized by perhaps their most publicized stunt. On December 12, 2006, Ty Beeson was invited onto Dr. Phil's program to defend his work. The segment begins with a montage of their tapes, with clips of Beeson talking in between.
I am doing a service to the homeless people. I'm turning these people into something special. I'm motivating them, inspiring them.
However, much to everyone's surprise, the guest shaved his head and showed up dressed like Dr. Phil. This caused a TV psychologist to abruptly end the segment, while Beeson argues his show is just as exploitative.
If you think I exploit people, every time you bring a guest on this show, you exploit them and spread whatever the problems they have to the whole world. You think that's helping them?
Yeah, keep telling yourself that. You can go.
After this, he is unceremoniously escorted off the stage. This clip has gone viral numerous times throughout the years, with many agreeing with him even if they find his work detestable.
Do you remember the guy who used to run Bumfights? Yes. And he came on Dr. Phil as Dr. Phil. Yes. He shaved his head.
Dude, just kicked him off his set.
But it was weird, right? Like you knew that's what he did.
Of course. Yeah.
He probably just didn't like that path of the argument.
The thing is, this man isn't Ty Beeson, which becomes even more confusing when you remember Ty Beeson isn't even his real name, and he wasn't even the one to make Bumfights in the first place. According to Rolling Stone magazine, it was a stand-in, played by an alleged associate of the producers. Most notable was his appearance on MTV's The New Tom Green Show in 2003.
This needs to be clear. Congress tried to shut us down. They couldn't. Metro, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department tried to shut us down. They couldn't. No one can shut us down. We're Bumfights, baby. Coming at ya! Coming at ya!
On the surface, their acts seem similar. Tom Green paved the way for folks like Eric Andre with his raunchy stunts and on-the-street skits. But the comedian felt Bumfights crossed a line.
But I mean, these people are actually getting hurt, and I find that might be like you're taking advantage of some people in a way that's over the line.
No, I'm not taking advantage of everyone. I'm not taking advantage.
Do you guys pay them, or?
Yeah, we do. I give them a place to stay.
See, to me, it's a little crazy, because if we ever wanted to do that on our show, we couldn't do that because we go to jail.
Yeah.
Why are you not in jail right now? Why is that not illegal to go
that's
to a
a
guy?
great question.
The audience is noticeably split, much to the host's dismay.
There you go. I don't know. It makes me kind of sad when I watch it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I just feel like it's wrong. I think there's a line with comedy, and I think you guys are crossing it when you're actually going out there and hurting people.
We don't hurt the bums, for the record.
It's uncertain why they eventually used a stand-in, although the fake was also deployed on CTV.
Ty Beeson, good morning to you, Ty.
Hey, Bumfights, baby.
Is that a wig you're wearing?
No, real hair.
Real hair. Just curious, because I understand you're not using your real name, and I wonder why that is.
Now, before we go any further, let's jump back to the civil suit. This is actually another source of confusion due to the characterization of the original filmer Ryan. Rufus felt the teen genuinely cared about him. He recalled that on Thanksgiving, Ryan brought leftovers and sat with him while they ate. It was part of his deposition, viewing himself as a partner in the venture. As he said, "They didn't make me do anything."
It's just all good, friendly filming. It's not, in any way exploitation. I never saw it as that.
Ryan argued they had good intentions that were perverted by the producers who bought the film. Ryan, Mikey, and Daniel say part of the message behind their film was to raise awareness of the homeless problem in America, indicated by the complete title of the first installment. The team wanted to pull the curtain back on the lunacy occurring in some dark corners of society. That being said, their other star, Donnie, disagreed.
Man, all they were doing was looking for homeless people so they could make millions and millions and millions of dollars. What did I get out of it? Nothing.
After the first movie, Ryan, Donnie, and Rufus relocated to Las Vegas. Ryan paid for the two men to share an apartment. By then, the other members of In Decline had moved on. It was during this period, Donnie claimed, they were offered to film new scenes. It allegedly escalated until Rufus alerted an old friend named Barry Soper. Barry was a businessman who met Rufus when he found him rifling through his dumpster. I gave Rufus my business card and said, "If you ever get in trouble, you call me." And then one day I get a call from Rufus saying, "Barry, you have to get your ass out here. I think they're going to kill us." Barry accused Ryan of kidnapping the duo and holding them against their will. Ryan denied these claims, stating, "We took them to Vegas to get them set up with a better life. They had f***ing house keys." Thankfully, life got better for Rufus after Bumfights. Upon its release, he got a letter from his daughter who hadn't seen him in years. Then she told him he was a grandfather. It was at that moment he decided to get sober. Rufus reconnected with family, including his 3 kids. He married his girlfriend and the couple had 2 children together. By 2006, he was employed and no longer homeless after 12 years on the streets. He worked for Barry as a handyman at his townhouse complex in San Diego. In 2010, they wrote a book together called A Bum Deal. It covered his recovery and journey as a humanitarian. The former stuntman became an advocate for the homeless, speaking at high schools and colleges across the country.
Hi, I'm Rufus Hanna. I'm here with the National Coalition for the Homeless.
Tragically, the activist's life was cut short in 2017 after a fatal car accident. He was a passenger in his sister's vehicle when they collided with a Freightliner truck head-on. He was 62 years old and remembered as a soft-spoken, very sweet person. On the other hand, Donnie remained on and off the streets for years. The 2006 settlement netted him $90,000, which helped cover rent, food, and clothing for half a decade. A YouTuber named KV Future Gamer recalled a conversation he had with him back in 2011.
When I talked to Donnie on the trolley on my way to an Aztec game back in 2011, he told me he has an apartment in El Cajon and is in the process of getting the disgusting tattoos removed.
It took longer, but he was able to get sober in 2018. Donnie and Rufus stayed friends throughout the years, stating this after his death. "We were tighter than the Lone Ranger and Tonto. He was beyond a nice guy. It's devastating. I'm at a loss as to how I'm exactly supposed to feel right now." The decorated vet passed away in 2023 at the age of 73. He was buried at the Miramar National Cemetery. While Rufus was able to turn his life around, the same can't be said for the architects of their torment. In Decline kept producing films such as their self-titled in 2004. It exploited the homeless yet again, while ridiculing people with physical deformities. The company slowly evolved into a decentralized art collective emphasizing graffiti. The spirit of their original films lived on through videos like Legalized Crime of Volume 1. Many prominently feature Ryan and Daniel. In a 2008 clip about tyranny, Ryan soberly reflects on Bumfights.
There's really nothing holding me to Bumfights, like there was to In Decline. I never felt like I needed to stand up and fight for it. I felt like it would be foolish and actually kind of embarrassing to try to legitimize something like Bumfights. You know, while we should have the freedom to release things like that, I would feel like trying to justify the existence of something like Bumfights. I feel like there's other creative and constructive ways to get your message out there. And by the time the whole court case came around and I had to look at what it was I created as a 15-year-old, I was 21. You know, I had grown up quite a bit, and I had changed my views and my opinions and my methods, and so it was a whole other set of beliefs for me by then. When they wanted to put me in jail for it, I was already on to the next stage of my life.
While In Decline began with documentary work, it slowly grew to encompass a much broader art collective. Self-described as anarchists, their stunts grew increasingly political. In 2012, during the Great Recession, the group installed a billboard that read, "Hope you're happy, Wall Street." It was accompanied by a dummy hanging from a noose. This tactic of defacing billboards had been a staple from the very beginning. Their first stunt, even predating Bumfights, defaced a McDonald's sign to read, "Sausage McMuffin with E. coli." These were often slight alterations, using limited changes to repurpose the advertisements into political messages. To protest comments made by Donald Trump, a mural was created of a candidate in a ball gag with the text, "Rape Trump." They later glued life-size nude statues of Trump to the sidewalk in 5 cities, referred to as "The Emperor Has No Balls." These escapades got a lot of attention, helping the collective survive to this very day. However, one must wonder about the moral high ground of a group built on paying homeless people to beat each other up. It didn't help that soon after, the founders were embroiled in a completely new scandal. In 2014, Ryan and Daniel were accused of trying to smuggle body parts from Thailand. You see, while in Bangkok, the Bumfights creators visited its infamous Museum of Death, a hospital that exhibits preserved human remains. This didn't raise suspicions until police intercepted 3 packages labeled as children's toys. They contained a baby's head, a sliced-up baby's foot, an adult heart with a stab wound, and a sheet of skin with tattoo markings. The parcels were destined for Las Vegas, with one addressed to Ryan. The pair were interrogated, yet somehow released shortly after. McPherson and Tanner told police they bought the items at a market and wanted to send them back to friends in Los Angeles as a joke. That changed after security footage placed them at the museum. A warrant was issued for their arrest, but by then the two had already fled to Cambodia. There were no further developments to the story. Ryan reappeared a year later, back in the US, launching a new production house called Critical Focus. When an outlet inquired about the issue, they were ignored and had their comments deleted. It's unclear if they faced any repercussions for the alleged crime. What we do know is that they took time to make a Reddit AMA. It was a complete disaster as users pressured them on their actions. Do you feel like the scumbags that you are for creating Bumfights? I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Lots of bags sleep well too. You've yet to answer my question. Where is your Wikipedia page? Why were you guys mailing baby body parts to the US from Thailand? Christmas presents for our families, duh. His attitude toward the exploited didn't seem to change much in all these years. Rufus wrote a book that nobody read but his publisher. In one reply, they claimed to have set up bank accounts for Donnie and Rufus with $50,000 each. When a user accused them of lying, citing the settlement, they responded, "That settlement is confidential because they received nothing from us. Nobody involved in the making of Bumfights paid anything." The misdemeanor charge was for a fabricated food fight. Nice try though. This seems to contradict the Rolling Stone article. There, it stated they paid upwards of $300,000. The charitable interpretation is that the two producers who bought Bumfights had to pay out. If true, it would help explain why the series ended shortly after. But it's hard to trust his word given the sheer amount of inconsistencies between interviews. With that said, Ryan continues to get work, occasionally directing music videos. For better or for worse, the ghost of Bumfights no longer haunts him. Todd Lewis, who hosted the Bum Hunter segments, tried running for state governor in 2003. He campaigned on a balanced budget and to, ironically, help the homeless. Out of 135 candidates, Lewis finished dead last. In 2006, he collaborated with known murderer O.J. Simpson on a TV special called Juiced, in which O.J. pranks people around Las Vegas.
Let's go. You've been juiced.
This is his last known credit, with Lewis' current whereabouts not known to the public. It's hard to gauge exactly how much damage these tapes did to society as a whole. In the years that followed, numerous reports surfaced of alleged copycats. The first crime attributed to the fad was in the summer of 2003. In the suburbs of Las Vegas, a gang of high schoolers started filming their own violent exploits. They called themselves the 311 Boys and went around beating people for fun. Their crime spree ended when the 9 teens were charged with a slew of criminal offenses. In retrospect, many argued its coverage led to a moral panic. That didn't stop the case from being cited in a 2004 documentary about the film's impact.
I can definitely say there's been probably 20 or 30 tapes that have come out after ours that have all been the same deal. Bum hunts, bum this.
2 years later, 60 Minutes reported on the perverse national trend of bumfights. Packs of teenagers stalk, attack, even shoot homeless people. The segment included an interview with an adolescent named Jeffrey. The young man and 3 friends, aged 14 to 18, attacked a homeless man several times. The attacker admitted to having watched Bumfights hundreds of times. He was deliberately imitating the film, and the report observed that since 1999, there were 500 attacks against homeless people, resulting in 180 deaths. That stat doubled over the next 4 years. In 2008, a paper was published on the subject. It suggested legislative means to prohibit the production and sale of such videos. This materialized with a bill focused on violent crimes recorded for the internet. It targeted both high school fight videos and bumfights. Criminologists call these wild sprees sport killings. Middle-class teens with no criminal records who assault the homeless with bats, golf clubs, and paintball guns for fun. Teens sometimes tape themselves in the act, and have said they were inspired by bumfights. This bill would create the new crime of unlawful violent recording when a person commits an assault while knowingly capturing the crime with a recording device. In addition, a person who persuades others to commit crimes against each other for the purpose of recording, viewing, or broadcasting the crime would be guilty of conspiracy in the 4th degree. Even then, in 2013, bum hunting was reportedly still on the rise. CBS reports last week in New Jersey that 3 teens ages 13 to 14 followed a homeless man and then punched him in the head in what detectives believe was a game of knockout. Authorities found the man dead after his head was wedged between 2 iron fence posts. The trend seemed to peter off after this, but it's hard to tell exactly when. What is clear is that for as objectionable as it was, bumfights left a massive cultural legacy. It came right as reality TV took off, giving many voyeurs their first taste of street fight videos. The outrage made it hard to look away, spawning a slew of copycats. This appetite may have existed without the film, but its success signaled that almost nothing was off limits going into the internet age. The creators got little to no punishment, and the producers who profited tenfold even less so. Most of the exploited didn't see any recourse, with Bling Bling still out on the streets as far as I could tell. The most recent video I could find shows him picking up human feces and shoving it into another man's face. In August of 2025, Andrew Callahan of Channel 5 sat down with two of In Decline's founding members for a retrospective interview on the collective. It came after they collaborated on the group's first ever gallery show the previous fall. This would include an extended discussion about Bumfights, providing their perspective all these years later. While the two of them had their faces covered, we can infer one of them is Ryan, given he talks about the legal fallouts and filming the original tapes with Donnie and Rufus. The other individual on the left is most likely Daniel Tanner, as he describes pre-Bumfight stunts in Las Vegas. We get to hear their side of the story, which does vary quite a bit from how the media portrayed it. The first distinction is in regards to how Bumfights came to be. The founders explained that most of the film's content was shot years prior, and was never intended to be a movie at all. Ryan explains that he was 15 when he first heard about the stunt bums. Their inspirations included Girls Gone Wild, Tom Green, and of course Jackass, but an unlikely source of influence was the 1997 film Gummo. Much in the same way Gummo shows the dysfunction of a post-industrial rural Midwest, they sought to capture the harsh realities of their skateboarder counterculture. It wasn't until after putting all the footage together that they decided on the name, later admitting it was both their biggest mistake, yet also likely the biggest reason it got so much attention.
We should have never called it Bumfights, frankly. I think that was the biggest up.
I think the title f***ed it up, but it also led to a lot of sales too. But if you watch the video, there's no time in the movie where you're paying bums to fight.
Exactly.
There's like people fighting in high school, you guys skating, and then bums just doing shit.
It was like the word, but if it weren't for that name, you know, we could have called it something completely different, but that name did everything.
A major point in the interview is where the line is between documentation and exploitation. Ryan argues they genuinely cared for the homeless people in their film, and it wasn't black and white. Much of the footage came from circumstance. Skate kids usually hung around near back lots, which happened to be where many homeless people stayed. So the groups became friends. He would once again reaffirm that the houseless population was a subculture.
It wasn't like this antagonistic relationship. It was like he said, you're hanging out together. There's real relationships there, you know? Would even go to, say, friendships with a lot of the people.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like the local homeless guys that you're seeing every day at your skate spot. These two subcultures, you know, essentially that like needed to go somewhere where there was shade and places to piss and hang out and do your thing.
He would also claim part of the reason for their lenient sentencing was due to the uncut footage showing them breaking up fights rather than encouraging them. There were also videos of several years' worth of holidays spent together. This was his perspective on the anecdotes of paying a bum $5 to hurt himself.
Yeah, I know the easy story here is that like punk skate kids like went and did this thing, but in reality, there is a difference between handing someone $5 in anticipation that they're going to do something to hurt themselves and spending a day documenting their life, which is going to involve drinking. It's going to involve extracting a tooth possibly, with or without you there with the camera. Anyone that's been around this knows that. And handing someone that $5 at the end of the day and being like, grab Taco Bell, man, have a good night, we'll see you in a, you know, whatever. Yeah. And that's just such a fine line for people. And for us, it was another Tuesday night.
The duo also shares their thoughts on the antics following their sale of the rights. They clarified those outlandish, inflammatory interviews were not them, although praised the Dr. Phil interview as brilliant and hilarious. In the end, while they had regrets, neither would have done anything different. It was only because of these experiences they became who they are today. In Decline has since moved operations towards the south, where they've found their work having far more of a noticeable impact than places like Los Angeles.
The point of activism is to have fun. Like, contrary to popular belief, if you're going to engage in this kind of stuff, you need to have fun. It needs to serve a therapeutic purpose as much as it serves a public service purpose.
To those who felt the creators of Bumfights hadn't faced consequences, they had this to say.
And for those who think there haven't been consequences, it's like there have 20 years of them. It's like down to like, it affects your professional life, even your dating life. It's like, it's a huge thing that we have like, and will continue to pay, and also just like, aren't even complaining, because like, we've reached a moment where we do things that we believe in. Anybody who's trying to do art that's gonna push the edge of culture or be there is going to f up at times. We're not perfect people. Some friends of ours said, heroes are human, you know? And sometimes humans are trash. And it's like, even with our best intentions, we even make mistakes that would be there's projects we've done, and I'm sure that you've done, that going back, wouldn't do that again, you know?
Overall, it's an informative interview, although not very critical. There are still many unanswered questions. While Ryan's explanation works for some of those scenes, it doesn't gel with ideas like the bum hunter. What they acknowledge is really only the tip of the iceberg in terms of exploitative content. Channel 5 also fails to address the elephant in the room, which is the stolen baby body parts incident. I think you could have pressed them on a lot more. With everything I've learned researching this topic, I had to roll my eyes at some of their moralizing. In conclusion, I don't think we'll ever get a straight answer about the people behind Bumfights, but not because the answer doesn't exist, rather because this is now an obscure subject outside the realm of polite society that I think the mainstream wants to ignore happened at all. These movies came out in the only era that could make them a financial hit. There was enough technology for the creators to record and edit the films with consumer-grade equipment, burn them onto DVDs, and sell them for incredible margins direct to consumers on the World Wide Web. A few years prior, in the mid-90s, you'd have to deal with creating them with massive and clunky analog tech, put them on VHS tapes, and convince stores to sell them. And by the mid-2000s, high-speed internet allowed free online streaming to take hold and make this sort of physical media antiquated. You can now watch unlimited fringe content filmed on smartphones for free just by booting up Twitter. But for a brief window, the novel atrocity that was Bumfights took over the national conversation. And even if most want to forget the phenomenon, I think it deserves its footnote in internet history.